All the trouble came in the early morning.
So this is your life, your passion. Do you have a different vocation during the day? Is this what you do all the time?
This is what I do all the time, I mean, what makes it nice is, I actually book a couple of venues in New York City, the Rodeo Bar and Hill Country, and they're country venues, and I do it in between, from home on a computer, in between whenever I'm writing or whatever. Like, I better check out, and I meet all the other musicians. It keeps me really sharp at what's going on in the scene, and it keeps me from having to constantly tour. And now with gas prices and everything like that, it just makes it easier to me to say, I don't want to do that show. That's going to be a pain in the neck. Where, so it's really nice. Even when I'm on the road, the only trade-off is sometimes when I'd like to be relaxing in a hotel room, I get a call like, there's a cancellation at the club. But it really is, for the modern musician, it's one of the greatest just jobs to relieve the stress of having to do everything all the time. So when you burn out too, it was funny when I finally got to the point where I was making full time as a musician, I was like, hey, that's all I do. And then there was like a week or something. I was like, I'm gonna take a week off of shows and stuff and go do some stuff. And all of a sudden I was like, I have no money.
Ouch. Yeah.
Like, so the pressure when you do just playing for music is that even when you burn out and you feel like you should take a break, it just means you can't, because you got to keep the money coming in. So it's sort of a nice balance to keep it fresh. And then the other part of our income we've been really fortunate is we get a lot of songs in movies. So that's a really great thing, because royalty checks, if you get it in the right movie, the money just keeps coming in, and you don't do anything anymore.
Now, I know people are wondering more about that. Tell us, movies. You've had songs in movies. What's that like?
The big break was this movie, Super Troopers, which has really been sort of like a cult. I sort of think of it as like the Cheech and Chong movie for people in their teens and 20s now. And so that one, there was a band called 38 Special was doing the score and everything. And then 38 Special went on tour. So the guys who had wrote Super Troopers had come and seen me play, and they said, listen, we got to get this movie in time for Sundance Film Festival. Can you finish off this movie for us? So I got to score big chunks of it, and I put 5 of my songs in it. And I got to be honest, when they were first putting that movie together, it didn't look all that funny, because a lot of things too with comedies, the timing is, when you get it edited right, that's what makes all thing. We put something that's 2 seconds too long in a comedy, it's not funny. You take that little thing out, it's brilliant. So the first edit, I was just like, this movie's terrible.
It's your songs.
And then when they put it all together, it magically was just like, this movie's hysterical. It's great. So it goes to Sundance, and it was just one of those things where we read the paper and was just like, I can't believe it was the first movie picked up by Fox. And then from there, it's kind of that thing, like once you have some songs in a movie, people trust you. Like, oh, he's in this and that, you can use his songs. They know that you're not going to somehow have some legal problems and get sued for you didn't really write that song. It's one of the big fears of people who put songs in movies. They find out that you didn't really write the song or something, then the whole movie gets sued. Everybody gets sued.
So we don't have to worry about that with you, because you do your own thing.
Yeah. Well, steal from the best still.
And he steals from himself.
Yeah. It's easier that way.
So tell us a little bit about bluegrass. Do you think there's an evolving market for bluegrass? I know we've heard some from Tom about that.
Well, I kind of think that I'm more on the fringe of bluegrass. I mean, we share bluegrass and the Jack Grace Band share a lot of things in that, like, tradition, harmonies, occasionally banjo and things. But I guess, like, I always feel like the Jack Grace Band's sort of the lone wolf, like, to the traditional, even honky-tonk people, like, his music's a little too weird to be honky-tonk. And then to the rock people, they're like, oh, he's kind of country, but I like it. And to the bluegrass people, they're like, he's got drums, but some of it works. So I kind of like, I guess what I'm saying is that I don't feel like I'm really qualified to answer that question properly, and really feel like I understand the bluegrass world as much, because also, Tom was such a vital part of the New York bluegrass scene. He did the Big Apple Bluegrass Festival, and since he's left, I feel like, I gotta be honest, like, I don't feel like there's this vibrant a scene in New York after that. Where, interestingly, like, say, up in Boston, it seems like there's some really great bluegrass up there.
The Boston Bluegrass Union.
Yeah.
A lot of good bands, traditional bands, and they care. There's a bluegrass scene in New York, and where Jack promotes music at the Rodeo Bar, is one of the bars, that's the premier honky-tonk. And Jack has put in bluegrass there. I
Oh
know.
yeah, absolutely.
So he's helping to keep bluegrass alive. It's still growing, and we did an interview in New York. I had a band there last year with Kenny Kosuk, who's one of the great fiddlers, played with Country Cooking, and we had Greg Gehring there, Tony DeMarco, who's an Irish fiddler who also plays old time in bluegrass. But the rodeo bar is still keeping the bluegrass tradition alive. It's New York's honky tonk, right in the heart of New York City.
Yeah.
It's great.
Manhattan then?
Manhattan.
Yeah, it's been 20 years plus and running, and still going strong. And we're trying to open one in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Everybody now is either throwing in the towel with Manhattan or starting to open a place in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is now becoming the vibrant music scene of New York.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Wow, how interesting.
yeah.
So tell us then, Jason back there, is he the drum player then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this is your first trip to Ireland?
To Ireland, yes.
Okay. You look a bit Irish though.
I have
Doesn't he?
something in there, yeah.
Don't we all? Most of us.
You're Scottish,
Yep.
right?
It's a little Scottish, yeah.
So, and you're recent, a new member to the band, or?
Yeah, I met these guys in
November.
December,
December,
November, up
yeah.
in Woodstock, where is actually where I live. And we were introduced in a bar, and they said, hey, we should do some networking. I said, yeah, I've read about that in the movies. And instantly our senses of humor got on, and here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, we met them, and then next day he came over to our house and we jammed in the living room.
I haven't really left.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you've got a big crowd here, and
Mm-hmm.
you've been here before, but not during the festival. And so
Right.
Tom can tell you, people are stomping their feet and
Yeah.
singing and swinging, and it's just craziness.
We had quite a night like that last night. It was
Oh
really
yeah, you
nice.
do know that.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a
Okay.
great audience.
Where
yeah.
where were you last night?
Yeah.
We were
At
the Strand.
Strand. Okay.
I think we had 3 generations of
Yeah.
people. We had the
Little-
little
little
ones,
dancers.
children, teenagers, and their parents, and then the grandparents, and it was
Yeah.
pretty wild.
Well, that was.
swinging.
They seemed to be also really like the crowd. Actually, a lot of people came up and said, "I've never quite seen this level of excitement of having all these different generations enjoying it on the same level." Because we're sort of like we have a lot of songs and material that say some of the older folk will recognize and a lot of styles, and then the younger folk as well. And then we're just mischievous enough for everyone to feel like they're kind of maybe doing something wrong, but in a good way.
Well, and the Irish love that.
Yeah.
A little bit of mischievous.
We definitely promote that.
Yeah.